Jesse, I am super excited for this because we've known each other now for almost a year. Your company has definitely changed over that time, has been growing. So, can you tell me a little bit about how you got started?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for having me here, Sam. And this partnership that Algo Dulce and Vinder have had has been awesome for our company as well. Just getting more people outside of our serviceable area. Because we used to do delivery at first, and it was a huge, huge pain. It was in the very beginning, just my car trying to get my product delivered across Austin. It was just way too hectic. So Vinder definitely helped me out in that regard, getting more customers and reaching out a broader audience in Austin. Yeah, so to answer your first question is my dad is a chef. He's been a chef all since I've known, I think since he was young himself. So growing up, I always wanted to be like him, always wanted to be a chef. But my profession took a different route. I ended up in analytics, completely different than food. But I did end up working at Whole Foods. So it was still kind of similar, it was still within food. But just seeing the rise in Austin food scene kind of inspired me. I always wanted to open up a business with my dad because, as I mentioned earlier, he has these amazing recipes. And being an Austin native, everybody comes to me and asks me, like, what's the best place to go? Where should I eat? What should I eat? Being Latino, people want to know what other foods besides tacos there are, right?
Yeah.
So I started telling people, like, have you tried flan out? And the first reaction I got was unexpected, and it was pretty unanimously like most people just were like, ugh, no. And I was like, really? Like, why? It's like I just don't like it. I'm like, I'm so curious. Being an analyst, I'm always curious about what the problem is. And it ends up being a texture problem. So from there, I start asking people where do you buy it at? Or where did you try it at? And it turns out that a lot of people for the longest time have been buying flan at the grocery store, and if you go to the grocery store and you buy it, it comes in that little plastic cup, right? Which
Yeah.
flan is a baked good. You can't bake in plastic. So what you're really having is gelatin, milky gelatin. You're not really having the real deal. So me being how I am, just curious about it, I started bringing in samples at the office, and it just changed people's minds completely about the product. So that's one thing. Like it was just knowing that people really love my dad's recipe was just a big inspiration, and it kind of like validated the fact that there was just a lot of innovation missing in the Latin desserts.
Once you got them past that like consistency, texture
Mhm.
hurdle, right? With your traditional baked flan, how did you go from okay, got through that hurdle. Now I've got a product that people enjoy. How do you build a business out of it? Where did you go from there?
I think what really started validating it for us was we started baking it, and I just started sampling it, like driving around to friends of friends' houses. We did this campaign at the start of the school year during COVID. COVID was going to be one of the most difficult years for teachers, so I wanted to somehow treat them, give them something sweet, right? Algo Dulce. Just because I knew how hard of a year it was going to be. So I just started handing out free samples or gifts to teachers around Austin, Cedar Park, Pflugerville. Like it just expanded. People started tagging each other. And as I started delivering them, I mean, there were gifts, but people were giving me money as I started going to the door. I was like, no, 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 this is a gift. They're like, nope, here's some money. I'm like, well, thank you. Then they started asking us, where can we find it? And I was like, well, you can't find it because we don't sell it, at least not yet. This was like before we even got incorporated as a company. So that just kind of started validating the fact that it was something that people, would pay for. And once we got incorporated, the next step was to find, okay, a place to sell, right? We started baking out of a commissary. That was our biggest expense right off the bat. So we wanted everything to be legal because we knew that we probably had a really good thing going on here.
Yeah. And you
So
can't sell refrigerated, temperature controlled goods through cottage law.
no, no, you can't. You can't. So that's one thing we really did. I tried finding every type of loophole. It's refrigerated.
Yeah.
You just can't do it.
I
So
mean, if you can sell out of your own kitchen, sweet. But I mean, yeah, commercial kitchen is
I,
what's got to be.
yeah, the first month was just shopping for a commissary. Like that was the biggest thing. We found one. We start cooking from there, but now the problem is like, okay, so now how do we give it to the customer? Like that was our biggest issue now, right? So we'd cook it during the week and then we deliver it straight to customers. And we had like this Google form that if you wanted some, we posted on our Facebook. If you want some, just put in an order. And in the very beginning, it was one of the biggest mistakes we did was make what you sell, right? As they call it. Like somebody places an order of 12, we make 12. We soon realized that that was not very profitable or sustainable. And so then I started thinking, okay, well, we need to sell somewhere. What's the best place to sell? With the farmer's market. Let's go for the farmer's market, right? Because we don't have the scale to sell at the grocery store. We were baking in aluminum pans and then cutting them into triangles and just selling them on Tupperware at the very start. Like
Wow.
that's how we started, like right off, right from the beginning. But once we got into the farmers market, that's kind of where things changed for us because now we had somewhere we can be present. We can talk to customers, get their feedback, kind of start just doing our market research. That was the most important thing for us, for me and my co-founders, my brother and Robert. Robert and
But you
I
started with your family.
yeah, we did. So that was one thing too, is that my dad has been the biggest help. He still bakes them with us. It's all of us in the kitchens baking it still ourselves. And if he wasn't there, like it would just be really hard to progress because he has all that experience. My brother, he's in charge of the operations side of it. So he learns from my dad and then just tries to document everything. And me and Robert had just graduated from business school at UT. And so we were trying to really focus on the enterprise level stuff. It wasn't as perfect scenario as we thought it was going to be, right? Because we thought we were going to come in and we were going to have all these numbers or performa, whatever, just operations, a process laid out, and it was going to be perfect, and we're going to get money right away. No, it went completely the opposite. Everybody has to learn how to make the flans. Everybody has to learn the process of baking it, everything, right? And now that we have a better system, now we're starting to focus on the bigger thing. But yeah, like my dad has been huge help for us. Just his knowledge has been huge for us. And as I mentioned earlier, just having my brother like there take care of all the operational things has been great for us as well.
Yeah. And you guys are going to be staying in Austin, yeah?
We're fortunate enough to be here, to have been born here. Also fortunate enough that Austin just blew up as the CPG capital, basically, of the USA. Just when I was younger, I always wanted to leave Austin because there was nothing here. Like people moving in now, they see this great city. But back in the day, there was nothing. There was just 35 and there were no sky rises. The music scene was very underground, but there were little jobs here. The job market wasn't as big as it is now, let's say that. So for me, I kind of wanted to go out because growing up in Austin, you grew up in a small city. So I kind of wanted to be around smart people, be around more liberal people, more people, open-minded people. But it ended up coming to us. So it just ended up working out that way. So
cool, man. What have you seen of I mean, you've been here, you're an Austin native. So what kind of evolution have you seen for the food industry?
So there's definitely been a lot of growth when it comes to the food industry. I grew up in East Austin, and right now East Austin is booming, the hipster capital of Austin, or like the hipster side of Austin. Back in the day, it was anything but that. There were no resources in Austin. All the schools I went to were low income schools. We had no resources. We sometimes the way the water and the electricity shut down earlier this year with the Texas power grid and everything, like that was something that used to happen in Austin, the east side of Austin, very frequently. But that's how low maintained the east side was, and there was a lot of food deserts. We had to buy food at a gas station sometimes. They were just
still like that.
Grocery stores, yeah. And so when I met you and Olivia, and we started talking about some of the initiatives that Vinder has done, and then is looking to do in the future, like that really resonated with me. My first master's degree was in policy. It was in trying to alleviate, I guess, the implications of gentrification, and just try to push more equitable like policies from to people at the Capitol, just to see like, hey, is there a way to kind of fund the East Side with programs and resources, right? Because the East Side really had a lot of the original Austin natives. And so it's just such a difficult thing to do, especially with no money. Vinder was connecting people to local farmers, food business owners. And I just thought that was so great. And so that really resonated with me. So I remember that was like biggest thing you and I connected with.
Yeah, I remember talking about that down
Yeah,
at the farmers market,
yeah,
and
yeah,
getting to it of like, yay, yeah, the city does do some work and just help out, but they mainly do it in a way that creates this vicious cycle, right? Like they
yeah.
give food stamps, EBT cards, things like that, but those can only be spent
Hmm.
at certain places. And those places typically
Yeah.
are convenience stores, gas stations, sometimes grocery stores as well. But if there's no grocery store in your area and you don't have a car,
Hmm.
where are you going to go to spend it? Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
instead of just like continuously feeding in that cycle, what you and I talked about was how do we create a system that empowers them to create their own income,
Hmm.
right, through the creation of food products that then can be sold to their neighbors to then
Hmm.
create a positive, flywheel
Hmm.
of not only food access but economic growth for those communities without a
Hmm.
reliance on local governments, right,
Hmm.
to actually get into a sustainable small business of their own, a solid pathway outside of and off of food stamps.
I lived that. Like I lived through the growth from being really young, seeing no initiative taken from the government to try to like alleviate any of these problems to now where there's a lot of initiative because there's a lot of incentives to invest in the east side. Right now, there's just money pouring into the city.
When you saw, the gentrification of the East Side, did you see a loss of Latino food products or availability? Because you chose flan, and it's a
Yeah,
very specific product.
there was just a lot of thought into the company, starting from the name Algo Dulce. It means something sweet. It's just something that I know a lot of people say. I've talked to different people, different cultures, and everybody always says, "I'm craving something sweet after a meal," right? But I think in the Latino community, we say it so often, it's insane. Like "se me antoja algo dulce." It's just crazy. So I wanted to have a name where the meaning just didn't belong to the Mexican culture, right? Which I'm Mexican American. I have friends from all different cultures in the Latino community, and that's just something we all say. And so when they hear that, I didn't realize how big of impact it would have on people because we have people that come over from different countries in Latin America, and they all tell us, "I love your name, like it represents us." So I knew it was something that it could become that, but I didn't think it would. So that's the first piece was that getting the name right. The second thing was that Latinos love desserts. They do. When I wanted to make them into the ready to eat, it was also for portion control because I know that a lot
Yeah.
of yeah,
Yeah, that doesn't
a
work
lot
though,
of
man.
this.
I've eaten like 8 of those flans in a row.
Yeah, so most people that eat it kind of hits the spot, you know, because a lot of people just want something that hits the spot, something sweet that hits the spot. That was part of the other reason. The other thing is too, I like to watch my calories, so now I know what I'm eating in that one portion, and I don't want to take away either from the fact that it's a traditional, authentic dessert, and I wanted to make it the way we make it, right, in our culture, but I wanted to use real ingredients. That was another thing. I didn't want to be like the flans sold at the grocery store that are it's not real flan. One of the things I've seen that a lot of Latinos have told us is that they take it personal, right? When other businesses don't make our foods right, like they shortcut it, and it comes out to be something completely different. And so other people try it and they think that's our food. It's like no, that's not our food. That's just the way a company has taken a shortcut to make it. So that was another thing that was important to me was keeping the authenticity, making it right, not shortcutting it. Just that was a big thing. And then the other thing too, as this is looking like into the future, is starting to provide healthier alternatives for Latinos, right? A Latino company that can provide healthier alternatives. People in my family suffer from stuff like diabetes, high blood pressure, so I definitely want to have products that hit these pain points, but that are authentic, made by Latinos, right? For Latinos, for everybody, right? But like I said, it brings that authenticity, but it also brings that innovation that's going on in every single food category that I working at Whole Foods, I saw just about every single American food brand just become healthier, like more natural, organic, vegan, just so I want to allow the opportunity for Latinos to be able to access that as well and see themselves in the brand, right? So
Yeah, and through a channel that's authentic and resonates with them, right? And
Yeah,
can give that memory of home in a bite.
yeah, yeah. We have people who have told us when they had their first bite, like they had this flashback of back home. Some of them were flashback to Puerto Rico, some to Mexico, some to Brazil, Argentina. But they always told us it was always the same thing. It's like this flashback of them being at their grandma's house and just trying flan for the first time, and just how good it was. And then many years later, they completely forgot they liked flan just because it wasn't accessible anywhere. And so when they tried ours, it was like, whoa, like that is true. I do like flan. And I remember trying it for the first time at my grandma's house. So that's always great to hear, just because we still have an insecurity, about our product, and whether or not it could reach the masses. We have a really good product, but like I said, but it's just right now we haven't seen anything like it, especially not here in the South or in Texas, right? Introducing that new or reintroducing that product, I should say, definitely still kind of keeps us on edge, kind of keeps us stressed out about whether or not people are going to like it.
But it
Yeah.
seems like
So,
people are liking it.
no, they
You've been
yeah,
able
they
to
are.
nail that. You've been able to nail the authenticity in a cup,
Mhm.
and now you're growing. You're no longer just at the farmer's market, right? You're Where are you now? How many you're into wholesale stores, and they can find you at food trucks?
Yeah, so we're at All Royal Blues right now, and Royal Blues are located downtown. We're also at partnered up with restaurants like Veracruz All Natural, Valentina's Tex Mex, Tejas Birria, Nuevo Mexico. We're at Diaz Market. Yeah, we're in a few places. Cocina de Consuelo. So in these restaurants that we're partnered up with, they have like some of the most amazing food I've ever had. And my dad's a chef. And so he spoiled us, right? He gave us really high standards, but these restaurants, like, they just know what they're doing too. And we've been fortunate enough to be able to partner up with such great people who believe in the product. They love it themselves. We love their food, so it's been a really great partnership.
You've had a tremendous amount of growth, and you've been iterating and making your product even better. What would you say, some of the top three most overlooked expenses or aspects of a company for a young food company?
So rent, if especially if you so it's referred to as overhead. It was the term that I had to learn when I went back to school. They taught me all this business lingo that I just couldn't comprehend at first. But overhead is a big one. Overhead accounts, I'd say that it could come back and bite you in the butt if you don't take it into account, right? Even if you start at home and you're making, let's say, like tamales, or you're making cupcakes, you got to account for rent, and you got to start looking ahead as to how you want to grow your business. If you don't calculate how much you're going to pay at a food commissary, you could be making $1,000 extra a month, right? And you're thinking to yourself like, wow, this is great. But what if you didn't take into account that your food commissary is going to be $700 in rent, right? Once you move out, then you're like, damn, now I only have $300 profit. But that's not necessarily profit, because you still got to reinvest in ingredients. So ingredients are not cheap once you start scaling up. And then there comes the packaging. Packaging is a big one. If you have a packaging that's very elaborate, you don't take that into account, it's just going to start adding up. So I'd say rent is a big one. And then I just mentioned packaging and cost of goods, right? Like just ingredients, your time. That's one of the biggest things that we learn, is that even though you're not paying yourself just yet, you still got to add it into your Excel sheet. You got to take these expenses into account. Because once you get to a place where you have to pay yourself, you never took that into account. You might think that you're ready to start paying yourself, when you might not be ready just yet. So cost of goods, definitely rent. And then what's the last one? Talking to the customer. This is referred to as market research, right? Like that's like the fancy way of putting it. But it's good to talk to the customer, because you want to know what they like about you, and what are some areas of improvement, right? So for us, what started making us more, I guess what started making us more attractive to the customer was the gluten-free aspect. So in the very beginning, we had the vanilla flan, the traditional, and then we have a choco flan, which is the chocolate cake. the flan, which a lot of people love and a lot of people miss. However, at the farmers market, it wasn't selling that well.
Mm.
And so, had we not started interacting with the customer, asking them like, "Hi, how was your last experience?" Or have we not heard what the customer had to say, we would have never realized that customers like the gluten-free aspect of our product. Our products are naturally gluten-free, but we had to tell them their way that they are gluten-free because not everybody's going to know something about your product. Not so that communication and that market research, it's really important. So once we went straight to just gluten-free, like that really started attracting a bunch of customers. We went from a company where people who knew about flan were only the ones buying from us to people who were gluten-free or celiac, people who just want to stay away from gluten. And then they started telling people, and then it just kind of got to the point where we're at right now. It just became that value add that the customer was looking for, especially at the farmers market, and especially at stores like Royal Blue, which have very specialty type of products. So that's this is all market research. It's just listening to your company, listening to the customer, and taking feedback in a good way.
As you start doing that and you start hitting more product market fit, what are some of the issues that you've come across or that you've noticed that sellers come across as they start scaling and growing into new channels?
The biggest issue is gonna be, I mean, you're very familiar with this distribution logistics. Logistics it sucks. It sucks delivering your own stuff. It does. It really, really does, because we had to deliver all the way down south, all the way up north. So now we split up the days, right? Okay, Monday is just South Austin. Tuesday is North Austin. But then and then we get a new partnership on West Austin. It's like, oh, well, then how do we do that there, right? And so by the end of everything, you end up looking at a full day of delivering.
And that's if you're doing those are wholesale accounts, right?
And that's just wholesale, yes. Even
so what if are you doing direct to consumer as well? Because what about that? Because I know there's a lot of food brands.
we use you guys for that because we couldn't do it ourselves. There was no way, there was just absolutely no way I was going to be able to take my products to the store and then just remember, oh man, I got to deliver this 5 miles down. There's just no way. I'd rather, like I said, it's a really good investment to invest in a logistics company or third party distribution company that's going to take care of your product and it's going to be good to your product and good for the customer. So it's an investment.
How do you think platforms like Vinder help or impact small local businesses?
Definitely, just knowing Vinder, you guys were the only company, first of all, that would work with us when we were really small. Big companies just wouldn't work with us at all because they're looking for ROI, right? They're looking to get their money back. And if you don't produce the volume, like they're just gonna ignore you. Like that's really what it is. And then aside from that, a lot of third-party delivery can be very specific to a certain type of business. We're not a brick and mortar. So how we're gonna find Uber Eats is not gonna listen to us. We're not a restaurant. We're way too small for GoPuff. These guys are looking for millions of dollars in revenue. I contacted them and they wouldn't work with us. Definitely a company like Vinder has helped us, like I said, reach those customers that we wouldn't otherwise reach at an affordable fee. And it allowed me to not worry about having to go deliver. Like I said, let me go deliver 5 miles this way. Let me go deliver 10 miles this way. And then by the end of it, I've delivered 2-pack here, another 2-pack over here, and another 2-pack over here. And for our product, that's not a lot of money. That's $24 worth of like 4 hours driving 4 hours. I could have spent that time drafting up some email, reaching out to other partners, and trying to partner up with another restaurant or another grocery store. Because those things, if you can find a solution to not do something and you can afford it, you should do it because that frees up your time. That's one of the biggest things that's been huge for us, is being able to free up our time when it comes to some things. Because a lot of people have asked us, like, how is it that you guys grew so much so quickly, right? It's like, if we can have somebody else take care of something, we invested in that. So investing with Vinder to take care of the logistics was huge for us because now I don't have to spend hours delivering to people. So
Yeah, you can just kind of set it outside and have it done, right?
Yeah,
Produce
exactly.
and then set it out and have it taken care of with all
Yeah.
sorts of tracking links.
And it was cheaper also than FedEx, because with FedEx you got to buy the box, you got to buy a bunch of cooling and sealing, and then buy the other box from FedEx box. The packaging comes out to be almost, I think it was like $12.
Damn, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So how are you've got a lot going on, man. How do you stay motivated in your day to day?
My parents are immigrants, so I always look at how much they worked, right? How hard they work, and they still do. I mean, they're so used to working all their lives that it's pretty it's inspiring to see them like still. My dad's still helping us out. For example, if we need his help like now, he'll drop everything he's doing and he'll help us out, right, with whatever it is we need help with. So they definitely put a great work ethics, just on us. Just they say work for the things you want. So that they're definitely a huge inspiration. And obviously, just knowing that we're on the cusp of being a company that represents our culture and it represents it well. We want to represent a culture in places that haven't always been represented in, or if they have, maybe they just have a bad version of our products, right? Like that's
Yeah.
why the flan resonated so much with us, and I guess with people as well. This just isn't something that's there readily available for everybody. So yeah, like I said, like I definitely I'm pretty competitive. So when I see my mom trying to or my dad trying to outwork me, I try to like step it up a little bit too.
How do you get with them working with you? How do you keep like a work-life balance?
It's difficult. It really is because since I'm the CEO, I have this responsibility of trying to maintain everything in order. So sometimes it does involve me parenting my dad at the kitchen. Like, hey, we gotta go. Come on, man, get your stuff ready. Let's go. So
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like his dad, and trying to get him ready to go to school, and
Yeah.
try to get my brother to have everything in order, everything documented. As I mentioned earlier, my brother's young, the young guy. He doesn't have corporate experience just yet. So I'm the first in my family to work corporate, the first to graduate from school, from college. So definitely everything I've learned, bring that in and just teach it to my family. So yes, sometimes I feel like I'm my brother and my dad's dad, but it's okay. We all get along. I mean, I couldn't ask for better teammates than my own family.
Yeah.
So and then one thing too is that we're gonna actually be expanding the team soon. My younger sister is gonna be joining us.
All
So
right.
so yeah, we're definitely looking forward to that. She's the youngest. She's really bright. She's really seeing what we're doing, so she's just motivating her. So I'm definitely looking forward to expanding the team and getting more help.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What resources do you think businesses like yours should have better access to, or that the city should provide, or what kind of resources would you want as a young startup?
Money. That's the biggest thing. Money. It is true. Like there's just no. It's really it could be difficult for minorities to get money because the market will invest in things that have worked, right? And I'm not trying to bash anybody here, but you go to the grocery store and there's a lot of coffee products because coffee works. You know, a lot of chips because chips work. But when somebody comes in and let's say tries to commercialize an arepa, people are like, well, what's an arepa, right? Or even a flan, like that's the one thing we get is like, no, flan's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. I mean, it's working so far, and it would be really helpful. It really would be if we had more access to funding.
So do you think there's that kind of the access to the capital itself, or just the access to the distribution capabilities that come with grocery store connections or
I think I
grocery
think
connections?
in my personal experience, I think that it would be helpful if there was some sort of representation on the other side. Like let's say
As a
that
buyer,
there's
so like a
yeah,
corporate buyer?
if there's a corporate buyer who understands the food, right? That would be a lot. That would be helpful because then we're talking to it's like apples to apples, right? It's like, oh yeah, I know what the product is. I'll try it. They think it's great. Awesome. But if you're talking to a corporate buyer who has no clue what you're selling, it's really hard to get them to try it then and there, and it's just really difficult to even get in contact with that person. I've had contacts with buyers who were there like, "What is flan? Like, what is it?" So I try to describe it to them, and I just don't hear back from them. Or
Yeah.
I'll go out and I give out samples to the workers, and they all love it. They've never heard of what flan is. They love it, but the buyer tells me that I just don't think it's a good time for this right now, or we don't know if it'll sell well, and that's where the conversations end. The type of person I am, I always try to persevere, so I always keep those in Trello. By the way, Trello, if you haven't used Trello, Trello is really important for businesses. Keeps you very organized. So just think about it like sticky notes, virtual sticky notes. And so that's this is kind of like a nugget for me to anybody who's listening out there. Trello is really good, even if you're a food business. But I always have these accounts there, and I'm always thinking about what stage should I reach out to these other grocery stores. One of the milestones that we're looking to reach soon is our packaging is about to get revamped. So once we get that going, take nice pictures of it, share with the people that said no to us, share updates. I mean, we've sold this past month at the grocery store alone like 1,500 at the grocery at the grocery stores alone. Yeah, thank you. It's just units are moving, right? And so capture that data, show them the new packaging. Here, what do you think now? And then work for one grocery store. So we're
Yeah.
hoping to keep doing that. So that's another thing, another piece of advice, especially if you have a product like I said that's new to the market. Make sure you capture all your sales on an Excel sheet. You always want to use QuickBooks. QuickBooks are going to be good for taxes, accounting, and stuff like that. But going the extra step and tracking everything down on an Excel sheet is great because you can use that data when you're talking to potential partners.
If you've given a couple really good pieces of advice here. If you had like one overall golden piece of advice that you'd give a new food founder, what would it be?
If you love your product and you believe in it, go for it. Pursue it. You got to just love it, right? Because it's gonna get hard. You're gonna come across a lot of roadblocks. I have no experience with business, like I don't, but I love the product so much. It's so close to me and my family. It's a recipe my dad's been working on. It's the same flan my dad made for us when we were kids. That no matter what, I'm I'm gonna make it work out because I believe in it so much and I love it so much. And I think people see that.
Yeah. Love and stay true to your product, huh?
Yeah,
How do you feel about how other small businesses can help each other?
I do. So I love collaborating. I just messaged a few businesses actually yesterday, and to me, it doesn't matter how many followers on Instagram you have. I don't care if I think we can do something cool. I'll work with small businesses because I think that we all are in the same boat. Even if Algo Dulce is 5 years removed, we were all in the same shoes at one point, right? And so I've gotten a lot of help throughout this journey. And so one thing that everybody always tells each other is if you want to thank me, pay it forward, right? And so I think that's one thing about small businesses is that we all meet each other. We all know we can all empathize with one another. And we all know that working with one another benefits the both of us. You create great friendships because you all have this one common thing, which is the love for your product and your business. So I would definitely encourage small businesses to collaborate with one another, especially if you're minority owned. Like there's nothing more than you feel alone. I feel like it's a minority owned business. And when you meet other like-minded people, like it just really inspires you. So yeah, so collaborate.
And where can anyone find your product?
So right now, Royal Blue, all Royal Blues. So and they're mostly Royal Blues are mostly downtown. Veracruz, all natural. You can find us in Round Rock, Veracruz on the east side on Weberville, Veracruz at the Line Hotel, and Veracruz at Terrytown, which is by Mopec. And then in Nuevo Mexico up north by Anderson Lane. And right by the Nuevo Mexico, there's Diaz Market, a local grocery store. And then there's also Cocina de Consuelo on Burnett Road. And then for everybody down south, because we started getting messages from down south, Valentina's Barbecue, which is one of the best barbecue places I've ever been to. And then there's Tejas Birria. And Tejas Birria was the first place I tried birria at. And it's amazing. So that's in Buda.
Sweet. And can they find you at farmers markets as well?
Farmers markets as well. Thank you for reminding me about that. We're at Texas Farmers Market, both Lakeland and Mueller. There you'll find us, the founders. Sometimes you'll see Robert at Lakeline. I'm mostly at Barton Creek on Saturdays, and this is Saturdays. And then on Sundays, all three of us, you'll find us at Mueller.
Awesome. And then you can get it delivered by Vinder almost any day of the week.
Vinder every day of the week, actually.
Yeah. Awesome. Jesse, it's great talking to you the last hour, man.
Well, thank you for having me over. It was great talking to you as well.
Yeah. Congratulations. Dude, honestly, congratulations on all the success.